video for this week. This week we are going to go over the test review for Unit 3. Sorry, let me adjust my mic a little bit. For Unit 3. Okay, this unit, this is actually one of my favorite units in art. This unit went over Mesopotamia, the Egyptians, the Greeks, Babylonians. So there was a lot of stuff in this chapter. So Ms. Kellogg and I hope that this review will help you on your test for this week. So your test is due on 9/27. It's worth 100 points. Your review is due the day before on 9/26 and it is worth 50 points. So question number 1. Which statement describes the significance of the dragon and bull images on Babylon's Ishtar Gate? The answer choices are: both the dragon and bull symbolize ancient kings of Babylon. Both the dragon and bull symbolize gods that were important to Babylon. Or the dragon symbolizes the enemies of Babylon. The bull symbolizes the strength of the city-state. So your answer for question 1 should have been: both the dragon and bull symbolize gods that were important to Babylon. Through your reading, you learned that the Babylonians they believed that God protected each city-state and the king was the god's representative on earth. And the kings actually built palaces and temples on a monumental scale. I think that would be pretty monumental, that Ishtar Gate, to overwhelm visitors and demonstrate the power of the kings and the gods. So that would be our correct answer. Okay, for question 2. What type of artwork is the row of lions on Babylon's processional way? Okay, here's a picture of the lion from the processional way in Babylon. It would be either a raised relief sculpture of glazed brick, a painted sunken relief sculpture, or a fresco wall painting. You learned about all 3 of these things in this chapter. So the correct answer for number 2 would be a raised relief sculpture of glazed brick. Now, if you're able to look really closely at this, if you can make it a little bit bigger, or if it's bigger on your screen, you can see that this is made of bricks, right? And you can see that it's glazed, it's like shiny. So hopefully this was a pretty easy question for you. Also, let me just say that in your reading you learned that relief sculptures were major art forms of the Mesopotamian civilizations. And you know that a relief sculpture is a carving that's made by carving or chiseling into a flat surface. So it's creating an area that's raised above or recessed or below the surface. So, and that's something that you'll need to know because your next project will be a relief. Okay, question 3. Which is the best definition of an Egyptian pylon? A massive gateway with sloped sides, a concrete gateway guarded by a set of sculptures, a tall four-sided structure with a pyramidal top that is covered with relief sculptures. Okay, so if you look at this picture, I think you're going to be able to answer the question. The correct answer was a massive gateway with sloped sides. So, like I said, if you just look in the picture, you can tell what the answer is going to be. So, and again, remember how we talked about how they love to build monumental sized things to impress people. So I think this definitely falls under that category. Okay, question number 4. What type of relief carvings are on the columns of the Hippostyle Hall in the Great Temple of Amun at Karnak? That's a lot of big words. Anybody want to take a guess at how many I said wrong? Probably a bunch. Okay. So here are answers. High relief, low relief, sunken relief. And again, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory, but let's look at what the answer is. Okay, the correct answer is sunken relief. So if you look at the picture, you can see that this is actually carved into the column, which would make it a sunken relief, right? Okay, I think y'all are going to do really well on this test. Next, which statement best describes the purpose of wall paintings in Egyptian tombs? Okay, does anybody else find the Egyptians fascinating besides me? I know you can't answer me. We'll talk about it in class. Okay, so the answer choices are: they provided things that the Ka would need in the afterlife. They documented the Egyptian belief that humans take animal form at death. They showed the importance of politics in Egyptian society. Or they documented epic stories told by the Egyptian people. So the picture that we are shown here is a picture from an Egyptian tomb. So let's see what our best answer choice would be. Okay, so your correct answer is they provided things that the Ka would need in the afterlife. So if in our text, when you were reading about the spiritual purposes that painting and sculpture used in Egyptian life, it's all just very interesting stuff to read. And I hope you read it. Which of the following are characteristics of ancient Greek relief sculpture? Sculptures were carved into the marble surface of column shafts. Artists used all the colors of the visual spectrum. Figures show that the artist carefully observed the human body. The correct answer is going to be figures show that the artists carefully observed the human body. One thing that's cool about Greek art from this time period is that they actually did try to portray bodies and people as realistic. In other civilizations, like they would try to make people look more beautiful than they actually were. They would try to make people look bigger, stronger, taller, whatever. They'd try to just make them look different than they actually did. But that's something that's cool about Greek, is that they tried to be realistic. Okay, for our next question, which sentence correctly describes black figure Greek vases? The artist made the vases using a hollow bronze casting method and then painted the vases. The artist painted black slip on the background and then added foreground details with the red slip. The artist filled in the figures with slip and then carved details with a stylus. Your correct answer will be: the artist filled in the figures with slip and then carved details with a stylus. This was in your reading, and this is also as you do the Unit 4 project and you're doing your own relief. This this may be a method that you want to try. Okay, for our next question, which of the following is a characteristic of Roman architecture? This is a picture of the Pantheon. The Pantheon, I've been in the Pantheon. It was built in the 400 BC type. I don't know the exact year. I need to look that up. It's one of the best known Greek temples. It honors Athena. And it's super cool to look at. It's got a huge oculus in the top. It's really neat. Okay, let's go over our answer choices. The Roman architects borrowed features from Mesopotamian architecture. Roman buildings depend solely on post and lintel construction. Roman architects used concrete to create open spaces unencumbered by columns or supports. Your correct answer will be Roman architects used concrete to create open spaces unencumbered by columns or supports. So when you go into the Pantheon, there are no windows anywhere, no windows. I'm sure you can see here on the sides that there are no windows. The only natural light that comes in is from the oculus at the top, which is huge. So it's made totally of concrete, and it's super neat to see. I hope that if you ever have the opportunity, you can go there and see it. For our next question, now we are going to Pompeii. We're just taking a little trip. What basic materials do artists use to make a fresco? Colored chalk and plaster, tesserae and grout, paint and plaster. The correct answer will be paint and plaster. I have also been to Pompeii. I have actually been inside this house in Pompeii. The fact that they were able to excavate and pull these frescoes out of burnt lava is unbelievable. This is another thing that I hope that you get to see. And I think I'm going to bring some of my pictures of Rome and my pictures of Pompeii. I may bring some of those to class and share them with you. Okay, this is our last question. Which sentence best describes similarities in these Greek and Roman relief sculptures? They are done in sunken relief and have shading to emphasize form. They depict processions, and each has figures that look realistic. They depict figures with exaggerated proportions to emphasize strength. Our correct answer will be they depict processions, and each has figures that look realistic. Okay, so I hope that everybody does very well on this test. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and if you have any questions, you can, of course, contact either me or Miss Kellogg. Thank you for coming.